What is good, people? Welcome back to a new video. I'll be revealing my new project car, but first I want to talk about this one. Covered from bumper to bumper in this beautiful aqua blue pearl paint. This was the last run of old cool Volkswagens before they got a lot bigger and a bit boring. Obviously the roof comes down. The interior's got the perfect blend of retro goodness and modern day convenience. You can upgrade the seats to heated if you want. These cars also came with air conditioning and obviously stereo. These are very basic features, but on an older car you actually take for granted these things that you actually get. This car actually has ABS and an airbag, which was an optional extra back in the day, so you had to pay for your passenger safety. Being almost 26 years old, obviously the car does come with its fault. When we're reversing, the gearbox actually knocks, which is obviously not good. We do have a small coolant leak coming from the radiator. Now, despite it being in gear currently, we're in first gear right now, there's so much play in the linkages, it actually looks like it's in neutral. There's no stereo. The interior is not quite finished, guys, but in a future video this will all make sense. Despite it being an electric roof, the switch doesn't actually operate the roof. I think the motor is on its way out. In the short space of time that we've owned this car, we have done quite a lot to it. I also own a Mark II Golf that I've just finished building, which is why you haven't seen it on the channel. There's not really much else we can do to it. So with that being said, why am I buying another project car when I already have two? Well, let's reveal the car and explain why. Welcome to the new project car, guys. So I had a few choices. I could have gone Aston Martin, Ferrari or Lambo, but I decided I wanted a little bit of a challenge and buy a fixer-upper. Get another convertible that, well, although this is a 3.5, it's pretty much built off the exact same chassis as what the blue cab is, but this is just sort of like the facelift model. So why did I buy this car? So I will explain all of that in a minute, but let's show you the good things about this car. Despite being a 2001 car, we've got AC and an electric roof, which half works. It works when there's fluid in it. It doesn't when there's no fluid in it. It's done 45 genuine English miles. Despite its age, the interior is in very, very good condition. I mean, look at the leather on this. Normally it'd be all cracked and ripped at the seams and stuff like that, but the leather is actually in really good condition. Door cards as well, all in black leather, just to tie in with the interior. Along with the leather seats, we do have heated seats that actually work. So this car is pretty well equipped for its age. Comes with these aftermarket wheels, which may look a little bit familiar. These were on the first episode reveal of the budget build. It comes with this windbreaker, and I don't know if it's a genuine Volkswagen item, whether it's aftermarket or if it was offered sort of at dealership level, but this is a cool accessory nonetheless. Obviously when the top's down and the wind is down and you sort of driving down the motorway, it's not going to absolutely blast you with wind. It actually works really well. Under the bonnet we have this 2-litre 8-valve engine, which, if you know your Volkswagens, they're reliable, robust, and they're easy to get parts for. They're very cheap to repair, and they're just a really good engine overall. Another good reason why this engine is good for the Mark II Golf is because, just pop this off, we have an OBD port, which means if we ever run into any issues with this engine, we can plug it in, bring up some fault codes and start diagnosing stuff. So it's a really good way to sort of modernize the engine, and I'm not doing any guesswork then. I'm not a huge fan of black cars, but as old black cars go, it's in pretty decent condition for the age. Apart from the stereo and the wheels, the car is pretty much as standard as it gets. It's actually a really decent example. So negatives, guys, every car has them. We're just gonna have to go through it. Paintwork wise, it has been involved in an accident at some point in its life. Front bumper is in dire need of repair. Obviously all of the panels are just poking out, everything's hanging off at the front. Not the best. You can imagine the impact has been from this side, so obviously this is where the damage is. This wing itself, this is sort of like a black with blue flake. Obviously this one's been replaced at some point. Roof does work, is actually leaking fluid. The roof itself, holes not in great condition. The engine management light keeps coming on. The air conditioning doesn't work. The biggest issue of this car is the gearbox. The gearbox itself has given up. Guys, don't worry, I have not bought another car. Although technically yes, it is a project car, its actual purpose is to be broken up for parts. So you might be thinking then, why get a whole car just to take a few parts off it just to sell it? Well, it's a good investment. First up, let's talk about cost saving. When you buy a parts car, you're essentially getting a whole car's worth of components at a fraction of the cost you'd normally pay for them individually. You also have a test dummy. If you don't know how to remove a component or want to know how it works, a parts car is a great practice run to strip apart, and if you mess up, you haven't ruined your daily driver or set your project car back a step. The last point I want to make is the return. So once you've ripped all of the parts off you need, the rest can be put up for sale and the car can be weighed in for scrap in the aims to return the money you've spent on the car. So not only have you got the parts you need for free, you've actually been paid to do so. The owner of the car's had some rotten luck with cars recently, and they got in contact and knew I was looking into engine swaps for the Mark II Golf. They said I can have the genuine 45,000 mile 2 litre 8 valve engine and all of the bits for the conversion for free if I broke up the car and sold the parts myself, as they aren't mechanically minded. To which I responded, hell yeah. The owner of the car's had no end of troubles with cars, and most recently the circlip and washer for the input flange has broken off and gone into the gearbox, which definitely is not a cheap fix. I said I'd do anything to help them out, but they were kind enough to offer me some freebies if I can get them a good chunk of money back for the car. I then took the blue convertible out for a quick drive and made a list of parts I need to take off the black one. I may need the catalytic converter as the current exhaust has a hole in it. I'll definitely need the scuttle cover as my rubber seal has perished. Although it's been repaired to a decent level, nothing beats the original seal. A common issue on a Mark III, so finding a good condition one can cost a bit for what it is. Next I'll be nicking the windbreaker. I did touch on this earlier in the vlog, but the blue cab doesn't have one, so it'll be a nice addition to the interior. The steering wheel on the blue cab is completely worn out, so swapping that for a nice modern leather one will make all the difference. The option to take off the air conditioning and the wheels is also there as well. So a nice batch of crucial parts that we can get for free. And here's the Mark II. They're so slow. It's so slow, guys. It's absolutely horrible to drive. You put your foot down, it makes a whole lot of noise, but not a whole lot of movement. So let's show you now. Foot flat, just hit for there. it's so bad. So what is good about the 3.5 as well is what's currently in this is a 1.6 carb engine. So essentially it's a very old-fashioned way of delivering fuel to the engine. Now in their best day they were not great. There we go, then it's cut off. This engine needs to go because we're having some problems with the carburetor. When you start having issues with these, they start to run like a bag of nails. Because the more modern engines have ECUs that can control certain sensors and alter the way the fuel is delivered and relies on temperature and bits and bobs, the engines run a lot better. But these, they're not the best. You could probably spend hundreds of pounds just to keep the engine chugging along, or I could buy a 3.5 breaker, take the 2 litre 8 valve out of that because they're reliable, they're robust, they're economical, they're actually quite nippy in these because these are a hell of a lot lighter than the Mark 3.5s are. So swapping the engine out into this is going to make a hell of a lot of difference, but it's going to take some time, so you're going to have to wait for the vlog on that. So the Mark II might be making a comeback on the channel. So if you're excited for that, make sure to give this video a like and comment down below if you've missed the Mark II, because I have. So slow. It's awful. That's the only thing that's missing on this car is an engine swap.
5 minutes later.
One thing we can take off are the wheels. Problem with the wheels we already have on the car. One of the tyres is ready to burst any minute and the other one isn't in the best condition. So what I thought I would do is nick the wheels off this, put them on the Mark III cab, then I can drive around with them for a bit. If anybody wants to swap me some 16-inch wheels, I'll get rid of those, put them on the cab, and then we can keep these as spares. Maybe get some steels just so this car can be pushed onto a trailer and stuff if it needs to be sent to the scrapyard or anything like that. So let's swap these wheels over just for the time being and we'll crack on. I'll start off by getting the black cab up in the air. I thought I'd do an axle at a time as I've only got 2 axle stands and 1 jack. Next up is to remove the genuine fake BBS wheels on the blue cab and swap them over. But here's where this turned into one of those days where nothing just wants to go well. The problem is the silver wheels have a higher offset, so the tyre was rubbing the coilovers, a problem the black car doesn't have as it has standard suspension. Nothing a set of 20mm spacers won't fix, right? Simple? Wrong. I didn't have the suitable longer bolts, so I ditched that idea and tried on the 5mm spacers with standard bolts. The problem then was, if I put the same bolt in the silver wheel compared to the black one, I'd have less threads to screw into the hook. Due to the wheel design and by adding 5mm spacers made it even sketchier, and I ended up slightly cross-threading a hole, which is definitely not a good thing. At this point I've tried everything, but it just didn't want to happen, so I decided to stick with the devil I knew and replace the 2 bad tyres on the black wheels. Anyway, tyres are on, let's unload the Mark II, fit them on the cab again, and forget this day ever happened. Guys, that has been a total fail, but we managed to claw it back. This one can now start to be broken up for parts. What I'll do with these wheels is I'll probably list these up for sale and then maybe offer a swap for a set of steels or something like that. So if anybody is interested in any of the parts surrounding this vehicle, interior, trim pieces, clips, switches, anything like that, let me know. Obviously the engine is not available, exhaust won't be available, scuttle panel and the wind deflector. Everything else is good to go. Let me know in the link in the description. Doing it this way we can actually save 2 vehicles, Mark III and the Mark II. And then if anybody needs any parts, body cuts, both rear arches are mint, the sills are really good, so they can be cut out and save another rusty Mark III. So not too bad considering. This video might be a little bit short. I did have a lot more I wanted to get done, but those wheels absolutely completely took an axe to my plans. So what we'll do next episode, we might continue the progress on the Mark III cab, and either way you'll see a video coming up. So if you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like and subscribe, and we will see you next week for another episode. Peace.